Okay, on the podcast, another timber mill goes under. 119 Kiwi workers face the dole queue before Christmas. Why is this happening, and why do we look so lethargic in our government response? Has our government given up? Ruapehu District Mayor Weston Kirton says the government must fix the electricity market ASAP, as prices have risen 5 to 7 times the rate of last year's prices, and it's killing industry. They can't carry on. So they're saying, do something to this government who just sits on their hands and says, what? So let's go.
Are we paying these people to front up, or are we paying them to fly to Wellington to eat their lunch? Should you really lose your career for refusing to take part in a 90-minute lesson about Māori culture? This government doesn't actually have any idea how to get economic growth. Show us what you made of, Prime Minister.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Duncan Garner, Editor-in-Chief, proudly sponsored by the Brothers Green. Unlock the innate power of New Zealand botanicals to support your mobility. Try the Brothers Green New Zealand Move Joint Support Tonic and join over 20,000 other Kiwis experiencing easier movement. For as little as $1 a day, you too can experience the power of New Zealand hemp seed oil for your joint health. Head to brothersgreen.co and use code DG20 at the checkout for 20% off your first order. It's a good one. Always read the label. Take as directed. Supplementary, of course, to a balanced diet. The Brothers Green, Christchurch. All right, g'day, good evening, welcome to the podcast. I'm Duncan Garner, nice to have you here. I'm the Editor-in-Chief, and please subscribe. And thank you, of course, to the Brothers Green in Christchurch, who do a wonderful job in partnering with us and supporting us, so thank you. And let's celebrate, folks. We have our first paid subscriber. So Sol, thank you, brother. I appreciate your support of the podcast, and let's hope there are many, many more as well to keep us around. Welcome to Team Duncan. You're a foundation member. In this, you'll get more content, but also your support means I can keep this thing going for as long as possible. So thank you so much. And if you text 3598, you will subscribe. So text 3598. So text my name, Duncan, to 3598, and I'll send you a link to subscribe. It's $7.99 a month, and every week I'll give you more content. My newsletter will come out to you, and all sorts of other interviews as well that aren't seen normally. So we'll put those on the special subscription service, $7.99 a month. Right, high power prices. Prices are 5 times that of last year, in some places 7 times. It is suffocating businesses right around the country. This is our economy. It's our energy companies. We designed it like this. Why are we going out of our way to make doing business here so damn hard? Weston Kirton says it's an electricity supply crisis. The government must fix this for the right price. So let's go.
It's the Slam Dunk.
Okay, this is really bad. It's 119 workers, 119 people lost their jobs at Carter Holt Harvey's plywood plant in Tokoroa yesterday. 119 people out of work from November, so not far away. In a town where jobs are hard to come by, they lost theirs. 119 human beings have been sucker punched. 119 families are suddenly unsure of what lies ahead, probably a ticket to Australia. We've all seen these workers before. Many have been in these jobs for years, 2 or 3 generations deep. They wear the high vis in the pub on a Friday night. They might have a go at the pokies. You know these guys. Sadly, Carter Holt can import plywood from overseas for about 60% of what it costs to make it here. We also have failed to diversify our products, but here's the bit that really hurts and should have been avoided. The crippling cost of electricity in New Zealand meant it became no longer profitable to carry on. So we had sky-high electricity prices in the last year, and we've created an electricity market that puts business and people out of work. It's profits first and people and companies using the electricity out of work. How is that even acceptable here in New Zealand? This makes me furious. And why hasn't the government been involved in a rescue deal or a power deal to keep these places alive? Does it have any idea of the carnage? It does a really big power deal with, say, Rio Tinto and Bluff, giving them subsidised power because they use so much of it. So surely they could have done something in the short term for New Zealand-owned timber mills and Kiwi workers. Towns rely on the paychecks of these guys. Did we look closely enough? Did we get our hands on? Did the government do all it could to help? Did they even look? Governments pick winners all the time. We send aid overseas almost weekly, hundreds and hundreds of millions of bucks every year. We sent another $10 million to Palestine on Sunday. We're putting up $70 million to get big events into New Zealand to attract them here, sporting events, whatever. But we'll subsidise that. Hell, Matatini, the Māori Arts Kapahaka Festival, was fully funded by this national government, $34 million over 2 years. We fully fund Kapahaka. So why don't we fund and help out these timber mills? We do Kapahaka 100% covered by the taxpayer, but we can't keep people in the mills. We fully fund RNZ and their propaganda, so why not keep the mill alive? We pay thousands of people to not work, so why wouldn't we help the mill stay alive and make sure that people can go to work? What about the workers from Struggle Street in Tokoroa? It looks like we forgot about them, folks. What the Provincial Growth Fund of $1 billion could have done to help. But why wasn't it? Did we put time into thinking about how to save or transition these workers? Has the government been involved at all? Doesn't sound like it. Or maybe we're just too busy shouting about whether Palestine should be recognised as an independent state. Quite frankly, no one gives a toss about what we say or think on that issue. But those mill workers will wonder, where was the support of this government in this lot when we went under? We're all tut and talk international affairs around the world. We spent hours and hours dissecting New Zealand's position on whether or not to recognise Palestine as an independent state. But what about the sinking state of Tokoroa and Aotearoa and Kinleith and Kawerau and beyond, as workers have been discarded? Where were you and where were we and what did we say and what did we see? The unions were talking, but where was Labour? These are their people, supposedly. Labour did nothing, said nothing. Did Labour offer any solutions? Have any ideas? No, they didn't say boo. As for Te Pāti Māori and Taku Te Whereas, they're a disgrace. Where are they on this one? It's all very well for Taku Te Whereas to play spin the bottle to himself as he rants all night on social media about a collective Māori voice taking over New Zealand and seeing the coloniser put back in their place. But predominantly, there's a Māori communities and Māori workers losing their jobs. And sinking another Cody's and admiring yourself in front of a full-length mirror as you dribble out more garbage is not something you promised you'd do when you won office. They might have thought you might have gone to bat for them as workers. Utterly ineffective and useless. Job losses hurt. Where's Te Pāti Māori? Nowhere. The downstream effects are dreadful. The pub owner, the stationery store, the school, the shoe shop, the hairdresser, the kids that rely on Dad to bring home the bacon. I'd be bloody angry with my country if I was one of these laid-off workers. I'd feel like my social contract with my own country had been broken, ripped up. And not by me, but by the guys in charge of providing the conditions to allow employment to take place. Did my local MP get involved? Did my government bend over backwards to see me survive? That's what you want to know. And why isn't the mainstream media in Tokoroa alongside these families, demanding better from those politicians who have the power to change the very settings that have just sent hundreds of Kiwis to the Work and Income Office? Are you with me, New Zealand? It's an utter shambles. What's the good bit about paying record high power prices and making record profits? Now, let me change that to bloody obscene profits, actually. Obscene profits. Pure greed. And all the while, we generally crush the last remaining timber mills in these small, struggling towns. So someone's profiteering big time somewhere, and the little guy, the little worker in the timber mill has lost his or her job. I find it offensive that Luxon and Hipkins, right in the middle of the suffering and pain, play this political stunt, which sees Luxon right to Chippy to talk about power and gas and supply, and seeking Labour support to reverse the ban on gas exploration. While the government offered some support for people affected by the closures, more high-level plans were needed for the regions. They went in there and offered a bit of help, but they needed some high-level plans, regional plans. This isn't bad luck, it's failure by design, driven by sky-high electricity costs, zero industry support, and a government too distracted by photo opportunities to notice the engine room of the country's economy falling apart. Let's not sugarcoat it. Just tell the truth. The government has let the Central North Island down really badly. Hundreds of mill workers, many of them third generation, have just lost their livelihoods. And what do we get from the beehive? Silent shrugs and spin from a bunch of tossers. This wasn't just a business closing yesterday. This was the backbone of the entire community, being snapped in two. Small towns like Kawerau, Tokoroa, Murupara are now staring down the barrel of economic ruin. These weren't just jobs, they were identities. Tradies, engineers, shift workers, all skilled, loyal and hardworking. Now, redundant and forgotten. Australia, here we come. Because New Zealand, where's the future in the regions? Another ghost town gets created. Where was the government's plan? Where was the foresight? Forestry's been screaming, help, for years. And no one in Wellington was listening. And let's be clear, this didn't need to happen. The warning lights were flashing for months. Locals knew, the unions knew, even the mayors were sounding the alarm. But when the lifeline was needed, it never came. We heard lots about a just transition from this government. Well, you're a joke. What a joke. You don't just transition overnight from a 80k a year mill work to a minimum wage gig at the local Foursquare. Get real, get a life. Wake up. That's not transition. It's betrayal. And while these workers are being shown the door, where was the minister? Where was the Prime Minister? Posing for selfies in the city, no doubt. Not one of them had the guts to front up to these towns and look the workers in the eye. The truth is brutal. We're a country that cuts down our trees, ships the logs to China, then imports them back as cheap furniture. We don't value local jobs. We certainly don't value regional New Zealand, if you look at this. This is not just a failure of policy. It's a failure of character. To the people of the Central North Island, I see you, I back you, and I'm sorry. And I'm angry for you. You deserve better than this. It is abandonment. And come election time, I hope you remember who stood with you and who ran for the hills. This is betrayal, full stop. To the workers in Tokoroa, Kawerau and beyond, I see your pain. This was preventable. You were let down. And when it counted most, Wellington turned its back on you. Never forget that.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, to talk about all this, Weston Kirton is the Ruapehu District Mayor. Lost 2 mills last year, has seen one fold yesterday, of course, in Tokoroa. He joins me now. Weston, g'day, nice to have you on.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity.
Hey, so Carter Holt Harvey, they've closed a mill down now, 119 jobs in Tokoroa. You've been through this in the Ruapehu District. You've had a couple of mills closed down in the last 12 months. This is heartbreaking stuff for small town New Zealand, isn't it?
Absolutely. You see that right through the whole community where it's affecting, schools, local businesses, our own council, but more so the families' connections, with the community. And of course, they were great sponsors, the mills, and great community spirited. But seeing our young people go overseas, seeing our young people having to move away, splitting up families, it's just hard hitting for our community. But we put first the families, tried to get in place, some measures to help them over the line. But the net result was that we lost 230 odd jobs, and that's huge for our community, being a small region.
Yeah, places like Ruapehu and that, they just don't recover from things like that. And you look at what the companies are saying, why they went under. Well, they're pointing the finger at the government's electricity market. I know what your views are of this, and hence why I've come to you today, because they line up with mine, which is this is a market that's lost control of itself. Well, this is a New Zealand market. We've done this to ourselves. We've pushed the spot price up, or the wholesale price up, 5 to 7 times what it was a year ago. These companies can't survive.
No, it's terrible, really, the fact that they can't survive when you consider that they are providing valuable exports to our country. And the government's saying that, they want to see more exporting. They're saying you can't sort of trade within the country. They've got to get exports. And then next minute we see, small companies fold because of our energy crisis that happens for year in, year out. And I just think that it's terrible, the fact that these businesses are trying their best to actually, retain their, loyalty to the country and have the government actually not cooperate when it comes to energy pricing is just not on. When you consider, of course, the government have a stakeholding in each of the companies that supply energy. And I understand that they need to get $500 million goes into the taxpayer's pocket, as it were. Sorry, takes it out of the taxpayer and into the coffers. And that goes back into the, mainstream economy. But it doesn't do anything for our small regions and small companies like Winston Pulp, for example.
No, this is billions of dollars. So they make billions of dollars of profit. Of course, a lot of it's kept with the company, off to shareholders, of course, mum and dad, New Zealanders that could afford the shares at the time. So they're doing really well. This is a tale of two sides, really, because the shareholders, thank you very much, continue to sort of rape and pillage New Zealanders at the power prices, and then the losers are small towns that rely on decently supplied and priced electricity, which no longer exists. So it absolutely kills them.
Absolutely. You see these young people going overseas with their skills, going overseas because they have to. They can't get jobs here. The unemployment's so high in this area. We don't have a lot of opportunities in the small regions. And it's just so sad when governments get in and they say they're going to look after the regions because they're important as far as the economy is concerned. And then we see these small businesses fold because of energy pricing. It just seems unfair and ridiculous. And I just think that we need to actually see, the government's getting behind the regions and actually support them whenever they can.
How hard is it to even to say for a few months a year the government subsidises that electricity cost to even it out a little bit? Like, we do deals with TY Point. So the government and Meridian, all those guys, they do big deals with TY to keep them in the countries. They get the sweetheart deals. And yet these smaller New Zealand companies who are battling their guts out with these people who are 2 or 3 generations deep in terms of being employed by these places, are left to fight it on their own 2 feet. They can't do it. The government's been too slow, I reckon, Weston.
Absolutely. I think when you look at the structure that's been put in place, the spot pricing, for example, is very competitive. It's cutthroat, but it's only for about 2 or 3 months of the year, and some years are different from others, of course. But I think that's where they need to focus. So, you almost got like the 10% of the year they're actually fighting to survive. 90% of the year, there's plenty of energy, pricing seems to be stable, and that's really should be an easy fix. But once again, the government's creaming it. They're getting their revenue from these companies, and seeing small companies fold because of it. So it's not the only industry, the timber industry, that's been affected by this. There's others, of course, but I just think they need to get behind small businesses in the rural areas and actually support them. And it only needs to be for about 1 or 2 months of the year, and then it's okay for the rest.
They've been way too hands off. I've looked at this closely, and I can't. You can tell me this, but I can't see where they've gone in there and tried to save these businesses. Now, I'm not saying governments can save all businesses. I understand the reality of that. But boy, if I was the Prime Minister, I might look at some of these towns and think, shit, I might want to do something here, because, every vote counts, and it's pretty tight for National these days. And these are good people. These are good, loyal, hardworking New Zealanders. You know these people. You will definitely know these people. They're probably not here anymore. But these are New Zealanders who have given their right arm for this country. And then when push comes to shove, they feel like the government's not there for them, and the social contract's broken, Weston. The contract with their own country's broken,
Absolutely. Well, when you look at a region like our area here in the Ruapehu, forestry is big, and it's sad to see all these skills, decades and decades of people, been working in the mills, working in the forestry industry, and that goes back generations. And to see these people actually either have to retire early or just become unemployed or go overseas is just a tragedy for the rest of New Zealand, because you can't get that expertise and knowledge back easily. And of course, you lose that opportunity. So we had a productive forestry enterprise here in the Central North Island. Now we're faced with the dilemma of sending off logs to other countries, unprocessed, and all those job opportunities are actually, gone by the wayside. And when you see unemployment increasing in this location, that is a bad sign for the future.
Yeah, we should be paying people to stay at work, so the government could. The government's always got levers, it's always got money. The government could somehow have got these companies through, I reckon, some of those tough patches. Do you know what they did? Do you have any understanding of whether the government was heavily involved or completely hands off? What's your take on that?
Well, they're very reluctant, of course, to have handouts to individual companies, not like the ski fields, for example, where they propped it up to the tune of $20 or $30 million just to get them over the hump. Yeah. They never came to the party at a time of need, and that was the sad situation. Is that I believe they could have actually subsidised for a couple of months the running of the mill, so that they could get the energy pricing right, or at least give some, share the love, share the araha in terms of, what profits they were making for the benefit of those who were working. Even if they paid the wages of these people for the 2 months, so it took some of the pressure off these companies to get over the hump so they could carry on producing and be competitive overseas. And this is the area of concern, is that they've lost the opportunity to export. They've lost the opportunity to get valuable overseas exports profits, and that's something that we've lost forever.
I think New Zealanders are disappointed. I think they expected something different from this government, especially in the regional space. They expected more support. They expected, maybe that they might have you back, because you've seen it with industries that are in trouble. New Zealand. How many times we've and Christopher Luxon should know this because he's been in receipt of some of this money. We put, in my lifetime, we've put $2 billion in there twice. We put $1 billion in, so it's $2 billion twice to bail them out. We have a $70 million tourism fund that's trying to get people to come to New Zealand. We have all sorts of governments all the time pick winners, right? They always have. They always do. I mean, this is how that sort of corporate welfare works. At a time of need in your area, it didn't happen.
No, that's true, and it's probably echoed through, up north and across the east coast as well. It's just sad that we've got all this forestry waiting to be cut, waiting to have it processed, and actually not have it available to our New Zealand workers and industry. And I just think that we should learn from those mistakes in the past and actually get on with the job of producing it in our own country, so that we can keep get our people working, because there's not a lot of opportunities. Upskilling people in our area is difficult. And, we lost those opportunities, and our local people have to go outside the district to actually get work at best. Yeah,
we haven't been creative, have we? We haven't been very creative about keeping these places open. We've just let them die. And so people go to Australia, and we can't keep losing good, skillful people, because these aren't labour. These aren't just labourers, whatever. These guys are engineers and all sorts of things, right?
Absolutely, it gets worse too because of the aging population. So you've got young people who normally would come along and take over from their parents or from other people. It's just not going to be there available to them, and we just lose that opportunity, and we're just going to be stagnated in various parts of this country, including our own.
Yeah. So you would have lost people, eh? You must have lost people in the areas that you look after in the last year because of the lack of opportunities and because of what's happened.
Absolutely. So every job that we lost at the mill, it usually meant that we lost the whole family. So you see school numbers go down, pupil numbers go down, businesses fold, and you're reliant on what's left, and it's sort of retrenching. But our area is one of the very few in the whole country that we're going to see a net loss in population. That's the forecast. And the makeup of that community is going to be aging. So it's going to be, bad all around unless we can turn it around. We are trying, obviously. We are trying to get something going with the mill that's in Ohakuni, and they're looking at biofuel, but we're not sure, and that is uncertain as well. Even if we were to get the mill up and running for biofuel, the technology now, Duncan, actually takes over many jobs, so it's going to be a different sort of, concept, and also the needs of our local people are going to be reduced.
What about Shane Jones and his regional infrastructure fund? The regional growth fund, the provincial growth fund. Could that have helped?
I think so. I think they could have actually, propped it up and allowed it to actually proceed on the basis that there would be, opportunity to restructure the energy companies and also the energy industry. And I think we're seeing that now play out with the government making these announcements over the last day or two.
Yeah.
But I think it's just tinkering with what the real problem is here, and that is that they're just taking too much in the way of profits. They actually are prioritising profits over actually restructuring, and that's an issue that I think they've not grasped at the expense of our people here, not only in our district and region, but the whole country.
There's profits before people. And this is almost as bad now as the Aussie banks coming in and taking the $10 billion worth of profit out of the country and into Sydney and Melbourne. That's what they do. Now, though, these companies, they're New Zealand majority owned, 51% government owned, and then in the hands of other individual New Zealanders after that. And so we're doing it to ourselves, Weston. We've designed this disaster for ourselves. That's the worst thing.
Absolutely. I think when you look at our region too, Duncan, is that we have significant water flows going through our communities. We're restricted as to what hydro we can produce, but energy should not be a problem in this country. We're 75% hydro now. We haven't developed or even increased that percentage in any shape or form. Relying on wind and solar has restrictions, and it's only less than 10%, might even be 5%. So it's just not going to cut it in terms of energy, and that's the problem. Is that they should actually get the easy wins, and that is to go and get more hydro and be done with it, because it's a bit of an insult really when we've got so much water.
And 98% of our water goes out to sea, so we don't capture it at all. It just goes out to sea. It's gone.
Absolutely. We should be generating our own energy in our own district, actually. That's how much water we've got. And at the moment, all the energy that we're producing goes nationwide.
Yeah.
And what a loss that is. So my personal view, is that we should be proactive in actually getting smaller, hydro systems that actually allow individual industries to produce their own power and from their own location, so that it actually reduces the price overall. At the moment, we're at the mercy of the big mega industries and companies that actually are just there for the profit, it appears anyway.
It seems to me that they are, the whole way the whole thing's designed at the moment is that they make more money by spilling. So this is heartbreaking for these industries to hear this. They spill water so they can push the price up.
Yeah, I think it's cutthroat, and once they know there's a shortage, it's like anything at all. If there's a shortage, the price goes up, and of course there are victims. If you're bigger, you can sustain that, but if you're smaller, you don't have any chance at all, and that's what's created this dilemma of small companies going under at the expense of someone buying out or buying at a higher price, and that's just not sustainable. It's not fair, and should not continue. But it's on the basis that we've got it. We've got a contract, or we've got a system where we can, either accept or reject. And if you want it, you pay for it, and that
Yeah.
it appears to be the problem.
See, we'll wrap this up shortly, but here you have a government that oversees this electricity market, designed it this way, so it drives human bloody misery. So on one side, fantastic, you're making lots of money. On the other side, people lose their jobs because the power prices are so high. We've got to balance this out and even it out so we can actually have an economy. Because without jobs, I was about to use the F word there. I'm so angry about this. Without jobs, you're stuffed.
Absolutely. I think that the other problem too, Duncan, is that if we can't survive in the rural areas and regions, then, why are we here? So we end up going into an urban area. And then you've got to create more infrastructure. You've got to set up, in a city area. And that's what our people do not want. They enjoy this, open air, freedom, beautiful landscape and the like. And to do that, you've got to have a job. You've got to have the willingness to actually stay here. But these people are forced to go to bigger cities, if not overseas. And that's wrenching people out of their communities that they're accustomed to and brought up with.
I reckon. I think it's really disappointing from this government. It's lack of hands-on approach. I think it's negligence. I think it's just governmental negligence on behalf of a nation not to set the parameters in the environment so we can succeed. And to drive that profit sort of motive. I think it's bloody negligence, Weston.
Absolutely. I think, sometimes you look at yourself and say, have you been working hard enough to actually speak on behalf of our people and try and fight for what we believe in and what we need? But it's sometimes difficult when you've got a government that are focused primarily just to, deal with some of the infrastructure and all the things that happen in the urban area. So, I think the regions are forgotten and they don't understand that the core of our economy comes from the regions. We know that farming, for example, and forestry and tourism somewhat are the core of our economy and our future. And to give that a kick in the guts is actually to the detriment long term. Yeah,
I agree. Hey, good to catch up. Nice to talk to you and appreciate your time today. I know you're a busy man, so all the very best. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Duncan. Okay. All the best.
Cheers,
Thank you.
Take care, mate. Okay, time for the rest of the editor. And Solomon, he writes to me, Duncan, hi. Just after signing up and paying $7.99 a month, I just listened to the episode about Luxon's challenge to Hipkins. I've got to say, I'm not really in agreement with your opinions. While I am not in disagreement to Hipkins' response, I am in disagreement that there are no alternative options rather than burning fossil fuels. Solar is a good source of power during the daytime when most businesses use most of their power. Think of offices, government buildings, schools, supermarkets, shopping malls, and the list goes on. All these businesses already have the perfect structure to install solar panels. They have a large roof. We don't need to go and cover farmland with panels. The government could simply pay or give incentives for businesses to allow the use of their roof or solar panels to provide New Zealand with power during the day. I don't have all the facts on me, but I know that solar panels will still produce power on a cloudy day. Obviously, a summer's day with clear blue sky is best. But those are the days that daytime businesses and organisations will be racking up the power to run the aircon to keep everyone cool. Surely, using the sun energy makes sense. Use solar during the day and do the hydro dam fill up at night with a battery. I know it would take time to build up this infrastructure, so I have no doubt that fossil fuels will need to be used in the meantime. And I agree that it is silly to import it to New Zealand by burning more fossil, transporting it here. So if we are burning fossil fuels anyway, why not take it from our own country and create jobs while we're at it? I couldn't agree with you more. At the same time, create jobs installing large amounts of solar panels across our city's rooftops. As for Hipkins, I feel he should work with Luxon, even if he doesn't agree with them. The future of the country's energy supply is an important issue that will not go away anytime soon. So maybe if Hipkins did work with National, they could focus on both problems. Solutions to New Zealand's current energy crisis and a plan for New Zealand to start using as much renewable energy as practically possible. Now, I'm not an expert on this, but I am interested in hearing from experts on your show from both sides. So please keep up the good work, and I'll keep listening and paying my monthly subscription to do so. Kind regards, Sol. Sol, I appreciate all your loyalty, mate. I really do. And thank you for being our first subscriber. Much appreciated. Okay, folks, that is us. Remember to subscribe. $7.99 a month. You'll get extra content. It is my name, so text Duncan to 3598. And we'll send you that link, and away you go. I really do appreciate you getting involved and becoming part of Team Duncan, because that's what it is. This is not just about signing up to a news service. It is joining and jumping on board the bandwagon, jumping on board this movement, and I really appreciate it. You can't trust the mainstream media, not in a month of Sundays. But I tell you what, I'll do everything I can in my powers here to make sure that you hear the truth. So that's us, folks. Thank you to my brilliant producers. Brody, thank you, sir. Lockie, thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate it. You can get hold of me, of course, Duncan at rover.nz. Always available. Send us your thoughts, your emails, your ideas. And if you do sign up, let me know. If you do sign up over the weekend and pay the $7.99, let me know. And so I can mention you on the podcast. If you don't want to get mentioned, of course, let me know that too. Okay. If you don't want to be outed as a supporter of mine, then, I hear you. There's a few around like that. So take care of yourselves. Thanks so much for supporting the podcast. Also, thanks to the Brothers Green in Christchurch, who we've partnered up with. Great products, good people, really good people. So I thank them for picking us, choosing us, and backing us. And we'll do this all again next week. Remember, life's a dress rehearsal, no curtain raiser. And we'll do it all again tomorrow, of course, not next week. Tomorrow is the next day. Thanks so much, folks. Ta-da.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Duncan Garner, Editor-in-Chief, sponsored by the Brothers Green. Feed your gut what it needs. Digest Gut Health Protein Powder. I use it myself. It supports natural digestion and gut health. Made with premium Canterbury-grown hemp powder and a unique blend of active kiwifruit enzyme powder and kiwifruit skin extract, offering natural prebiotics and a nutrient-rich profile to complement a balanced lifestyle. Always read the label. Take as directed. Supplementary, of course, to a balanced diet. The Brothers Green, Christchurch.